My wife is constantly falling apart and I can't take it anymore. Okay, so for context, my wife and I have not had a good past few years. Relationship-wise we're fine, I mean life stuff. Just in the past 6 months, here's what I've been dealing with. Our house was destroyed due to a slow leak in the plumbing causing rot and mold in the floors/walls. Reconstruction, all coordinated by me, and most work, except structural work, done myself. Including fighting with the insurance company, but is almost complete. We've been staying with my parents since it happened. Our septic system failed last year. We found out by pure chance that the previous homeowner was aware and disguised the issue for the sale. Went through a month of meeting with lawyers to find out we were 2 months past the 3-year statute of limitations to sue. Due to site conditions, repairs are complicated and will cost $50K plus. I rented a mini excavator, spent a day knee deep in sewage, and made some temporary repairs for now. She hated one of our cats because the car, was anxious and would occasionally pee places, so she freaked out, wanted to rehome her, didn't do anything about it but complain, so I had to do it. Found her a new home with a family close by and she is thriving. Our, now 18M/0, son has severe eczema and is constantly itchy, uncomfortable. It got worse a few months ago, and after weeks of talking but not doing anything I finally had to take control and call around, set my son up at a specialist. He's on a new skin regimen and his symptoms are markedly improved. Edit, that's just the past 6 months. Over the past 2 years we've had countless issues with the house, and our wedding being cancelled because of CVD, etc. Meanwhile, I'm trying to run and build a 3-year-old business, remodel our whole house myself, both prior to the plumbing failure and after. Last week my dad died very suddenly. He was a great man, and the losses felt heavily. To add to my plate, he had his own business which I now have to take on and either take ownership of or bring to a close. My wife has zero stress tolerance. She's smart, beautiful, capable, but just so easily overwhelmed. I'm constantly talking to her like a child, coddling her to try and keep her head above water. She'll snap over the smallest thing. Last night she screamed and started slamming Tupperware on the counter because the lids wouldn't fit in the cabinet. I have encouraged her multiple times to go to therapy, to work through some of these feelings, and learn some stress management skills. She went 2 to 3 times a few months ago but never went back. A few weeks ago I sent her and her best friend on an all-expenses-paid weekend away to a resort so she could decompress. I am not a wealthy man, I run a sustainability and gardening company, so this was a big gesture. It helped for about a week. In the 1 week between my dad getting sick, passing, and the funeral, she was great. Right where I needed her, picked up and dropped off the baby from daycare, right by my side, comforting and accommodating. But it didn't last long. I can't even properly grieve my father because less than 3 days after the funeral, we're right back to me having to put on a strong face and support her, crying because she's overwhelmed when for once I'm the one who needs support and she can't provide it. I don't understand how she can be so overwhelmed by her tasks around the house. Laundry, dinner, making sure we have diapers and wipes. Our baby is in daycare 5 days a week. When we're home I'm more engaged with him than she is. I could take all of her duties on without flinching. Last night after the Tupperware tantrum, she was screaming at our 18M/0 for trying to climb on her. He just wanted to be held. He just wanted mama's attention. She can't look away from TikTok for more than 15 seconds. I picked him up, sat him on my lap while we watched TV and he stayed calmly, cuddling for 15 to 20 minutes. Edit, tantrum/breakdown/yelling at our son like this are fairly common occurrences. 1 to 3 times a month. I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants a divorce. At least then I'd only have one baby to take care of. I can't be the sole pillar of strength for this family anymore. It's breaking me. Edit, I don't really want to divorce her, I'll go through whatever needs to be done to help her, I do love her so much. This is just the point that I'm at. Edit, to answer a repeat question, yes, she works. She's an academic advisor at a college. Union-backed 9-to-5 desk job. Someone please, share an experience, I need an outside perspective. Am I expecting too much of her? Am I being insensitive? It feels unfair, the burden I have to carry to keep her head above water. I want to be a loving, a supportive husband, and I feel I have done a lot to be one, but I don't know what to do anymore. I can't take this anymore. Comment. My mom is a lot like this. I picked up all of her bad habits, because I never learned emotional regulation, and I had to do so much work to learn to do better. I lost years in friendships and so many opportunities because I wasted time being angry and overwhelmed at every little thing. I deeply resent my mother and I absolutely hate who I was. I treated people terribly because no one ever taught me how to just be calm and decent. Don't think about yourself. Don't think about your wife. Think about the kids, and what kind of life you want them to have. Maybe even express this to your wife, if she has any caring instincts at all. Maybe it'll rattle her to realize she isn't the only one experiencing her overwhelming feelings. You sound like a nice person and a thoughtful parent. You deserve good things. Best of luck to you. I could have written this comment. I also had a highly dysregulated, easily triggered mother who thought love was anxiety at you. It also took me forever to learn how to exist as a person and be well adjusted. My mother should not have had me before getting her shit together emotionally. It's not fair to anyone involved and causes damage for years. I love my mom a lot, but I was not prepared for the revelation your comment gave me. I kept my dad as my emergency medical contact for years after his death, and only eventually changed it to my live-in so I would only involve my mom in a health scare if I had literally no other choice. Sorry this is your experience too. This. OP have her look for a psychiatrist. If she's not one for therapy, maybe psychiatry will help. It's not as therapy focused, more focused on symptoms and solutions, at least in my case for anxiety and ADHD, but it can help a lot. Anxiety can make any minor thing seem like the end of the world and sometimes our brains can't handle it. Nothing wrong with some medications to help. My mom was the same way until she got on meds. She'd have a breakdown every weekend. I have trouble expressing what I feel and I hate crying, which is why I am not fond of therapy, but my psychiatrist has been amazing, and while gently encouraging me to go to therapy, she doesn't push it and she just helps me examine and express what I'm feeling on a basic level and provides options. Some medications, some lifestyle changes. This is incredibly similar to my experience. Both my brother and I have anxiety and ADHD, and I strongly think my mom has both as well. I've managed over time to hold space both for feeling sympathetic for my mom for all ways in which she validly struggled, while also acknowledging the ways in which it harmed me and wishing she had learned/been able to handle things differently. My mother used to be very easily stressed out and do all these things. Raising 5 kids, last 2 being twins, it's almost no wonder looking back into my childhood lol. I can't imagine that stress. Reading the entire time just felt like my mom only with the one child. She was diagnosed with anxiety and got meds for it, and it mellowed her out a heck of a lot. Either that or she has something else mentally going on. ADHD comes to mind. Regardless, she needs some type of evaluation and help. It might help her understand herself better too. It helped my mom just knowing she had anxiety so she could treat herself too. Story 2. My fiancé packed a bag and left while I was out. He has blocked my number. Please talk me through what to do now. Background. My fiancé and I met in the 6th grade. We were best friends. We later became high school sweethearts until I left for college and we went out separate ways. I graduated, a few years went by, and then I reached out. Instant connection. We fell in love again and dated for a year. I should mention that fate has been much kinder to me. Shortly after we broke up, my fiancé's very critical, distant father divorced his mother, and then proceeded to blow my fiancé's college savings on IVF with another woman. My fiancé now has 2 siblings who are roughly 20 years younger. Anyway, my fiancé's family fell apart just as he was turning 18. His mother was coping with alcohol and his father was too busy to even coach him through applying for student loans. He did not go to college. He went through a stint of drug abuse, got a job delivering pizza, and pretty much became a gamer stoner. Meanwhile, I was privileged enough to go to college, get a job, and purchase a home by myself. When we reunited a year ago, I was aware of our lifestyle differences, but I am a lifelong proponent of this man's intelligence and potential. It was a fixture of my childhood. I know he can do whatever he puts his mind to, I've seen it, and at the time, he'd just gotten a new corporate job and everything seemed to be on the up and up. Anyway, I've been delighted to share my home with him, and I was the happiest woman alive when he proposed. I make triple what he does, and I wanted a very simple ring, so I said, hey, let's split the cost. No worries. I was just so excited to marry my literal best friend. He never really paid me back, so to speak, but we now share the cost of living, so I figured it's no big deal. This is around the time his behavior changed. Seasonal depression kicked in, and he started telling me he was worried he wasn't good enough for me. He said he had invasive thoughts of suicide. He started smoking a lot more, sleeping past noon every day, and spending nearly all his time gaming. He works from home, but eventually his employer noticed and put him on a performance improvement plan. I told him I'd help him be accountable at work, and I also helped him freshen up his resume/CV. I then booked an appointment at a psychiatrist on his behalf, because he said he'd like to try medication. His change in behavior has also impacted our relationship. Every time I would try to suggest an activity to get us engaged and active, he'd cringe or groan. Let's paint warmer figures, let's go to a game shop, let's hang out at a CBD lounge, let's go out to eat, let's have sex, let's take a hike. I tried everything I could think of and I felt rejected every time. He always prefers a screen to my company. On Friday, 2 of my female friends came to visit. I excitedly announced our engagement, and we proceeded to have fun doing girly things. My boyfriend was a ghost all weekend, coming down from his cave only when I offered treats or weed to the guests. At the end of the visit, he declined yet another opportunity to go out to eat with us. I get it, he doesn't want to hang out with a bunch of his GF's friends. But I just snapped. As we drove to brunch, I texted him, I'm done pulling all the weight, it's so weird that you straight up don't like spending time with me, etc. No response. I got angrier. Are you just gonna ignore me and walk out? Wouldn't that be ironic? I bought my own ring and now I have to break up with myself, too. It was nasty, mean-spirited, and I totally kicked him while he was down. I'm in therapy for insecurity and attachment issues, and my therapist and I have already created an action plan to help me deal with perceived rejection going forward. I regret this behavior completely. Well, I came home with my friends and his keys were on the counter. No note, no text. He took very few of his things except the gaming devices, of course. He blocked me. My friends have yet to reclaim their jaws from the floor. I was terrified, given his depression. I started reaching out to his mother, who I'm close with. Radio silence. So then I start calling hospitals. I Venmo him money, because wherever he is, he left his credit card here. I ask his friends if they've heard from him, they haven't. At this point I am losing my shit. I email him and message him everywhere I can think of, telling him how sorry I am for making him feel insignificant, and how much I love him. I tell him that the pain of losing him has motivated me to do whatever it takes to make him feel worthy and supported. The night passes. I wake up to no updates from him, however the bits and pieces our friends are able to tell me seem to indicate that he's with his mother, and they're both just letting me scramble in the wake of his disappearance. I have abandonment issues. I've shared my nightmares with him, about him leaving me suddenly like my addict mother did, because he regularly heard me crying in my sleep. He always swore he'd never abandon me. So right now I'm caught between begging the universe to give me another chance with him, to being so devastated that the love of my life would use my Achilles heel against me. Surely I deserve a breakup phone call? I'm trying my best to get through the workday while grieving. I don't know how to pass the hours, or what I'll do if he returns. Comment. I promise you that this is really for the best. I understand your panic, but once you take a breather you can look at this situation in a harsher light. Your anger is trying to protect you, and you finally had enough. Enough of what? Your anger will tell you, you have been in love with this person / potential / and not who they actually are, how they act and what they truly believe. His life took a dark turn, sure, but he has done nothing but wallow in the ashes. You have spent so long enabling this man that he is uninterested in anything but drowning. No one can make someone happy. True change comes from within. It hurts that you weren't able to inspire him to make great strides of positive change for your sake, in the name of your love. He isn't interested in doing that, and he has shown you. He has also shown you that he is both uninvested in the relationship and untrustworthy. He has broken his promise to you by ghosting you, knowing how much pain it would cause you. He is more interested in preserving himself than loving you. It's going to hurt, but you need to choose you. Think of it this way, as cold as it may sound, you suddenly have 2x your income, not paying the way for a man-child, and a whole lot of free time to spend on things you love. Therapy helps so much. I had been seeing my therapist for a few years, then COVID hit and I didn't see her for a while. After COVID I went back. I had split with my partner at this point. She said she knew it was coming. And we started working on my issues on why I chose him. Another thing to consider is that the constant drug use and gaming addiction are used as an escape from the world. While he is focused on these things, he is actively avoiding emotionally engaging with anything and anyone. You cannot grow emotionally unless you are prepared to work through circumstances. You have been managing his life for him for so long, he's merely a passenger in his own existence. He doesn't want to live up to your expectations, and he doesn't really have any of his own. Time to step back, get some perspective, and realize you have been dragging a dead weight behind you, and throwing all your emotional energy at trying to heal him. Stop. Focus on yourself. He couldn't even face up to you to say that this life is not what he wants, he just ghosted you. This is a man who is putting minimal effort into life, and letting it carry him. Stop exhausting yourself on a bottomless pit. Fresh start, fresh you. Time to put yourself and your life goals first. You're begging a man that doesn't value you at all to please allow you to continue mothering him. I understand that it's triggering your abandonment issues and you'll do anything to not feel alone. You'll give up every last shred of self-respect if you have to. If I know that after a few paragraphs, don't you think he knows that? He's doing this for a reason. Because he knows it'll work. To both hurt you and to get you to throw money at him and never ever stand up for yourself even a tiny bit again out of fear of him leaving again. So on one occasion, after a long while of him doing nothing to care for his own mental health, you lost your temper and now you are groveling to get him back? Why? I'm especially finding it strange that you sent money and then tried to prove your love by telling him about a gift you bought him. Is that all you think you bring him? Monetary support and not complaining about his disinterest in life? You need to take a breath and recover some of your dignity. That wasn't a prize who packed his valuables and walked out the door and you aren't desperate. Stop acting like it. You won't make good decisions when you are in that headspace. Take some time and adjust to the relationship being over, or at least so greatly broken up that if he comes back saying he panicked or needed a break, you aren't engaged anymore, you are dating and getting to know each other again. You are waiting to see if he gets proper mental health care. You are evaluating if this is a good guy for you, not just how you can keep him.